Zinnias are a real popular flower. It seems like people are very familiar with zinnias, and the only problem is that they have a tendency to have some disease problems in Oklahoma with powdery mildew. But let me show you some cousins to the zinnia and some that look like zinnias that really are more adapted to Oklahoma conditions. Now the one in the background here with the yellow flowers are Linares or Linares zinnia. And they're a little bit different. They're just a beautiful orange color, and right on each petal there's a yellow stripe down the center of them, and it really makes a nice contrast. The other difference is that it's more of a vining zinnia with narrow strap-like foliage, and they are more tolerant to powdery mildew, and also they are spreaders, so they grow in very aggressive conditions. So again, this one is Linares zinnia. Grows about probably 8, 10, 12 inches at the end of the season, and they're going to grow right up until probably the frost. Now the one in front is very similar. It's called Zinnia and Gustav Folia, and the particular cultivar is Star White. The flowers are a real pretty white, creamy color with a yellow center. Again, it's a zinnia with a strap-like foliage. They're going to get a little bit taller than the Linares, so they're good in our background here. Again, will grow right up until the fall, more aggressive, the same types of characteristics as far as being more tolerant to powdery mildew and pretty aggressive in a bud. Now the other one we have here looks like a zinnia. In fact, it's actually called a creeping zinnia, but it's not in the zinnia family. It's Sanvitalia procumbens, and that means it's more prostrate. So we have it along the edge and in the front because it's a little bit lower growing. And it is more of a creeping one. Again, it has a yellow flower with a dark eye, and it resembles a zinnia, but it's not similar as far as any other characteristics. Now all of these like the heat. They're more drought tolerant. And again, they're all pretty tolerant to powdery mildew, so that makes them an added plus. Plus they fill in the beds a little bit more too. So I'm real pleased with these as an alternative to zinnia as far as any problems that you might been having like we have with powdery mildew. The other nice thing about them, they don't have to be deadheaded like zinnias do. So the older flowers will shrivel up that are hid under here, and then they continue to grow and put out new growth, so that's another plus. Now one that we saw recently in Ameriflora 92 in Columbus, Ohio is Calendula, and again it resembles a zinnia, but it's got a huger flower, larger flower, and we saw them in mass plantings, and they were coming in yellow and orange colors. Very nice bedding plant, and those two will grow in Oklahoma, but they're a little bit harder to find. Now the zinnias behind me and the creeping zinnia we got through some of our mail order companies, but some of the nurseries are starting to carry them. Now because they're bedding plants, they need to be planted after the first frost. You want to make sure you fertilize them continuously throughout the season, and if the creeping ones get a little bit too tall, it's okay to go ahead and trim them back, prune them back, fertilize them, and don't forget to water them during our drought times. Now ours have kind of set around during the wet conditions, but the heat, they're starting to respond, and we're going to be pleased with the color this summer.